This is going to be a quick video. In the Wayback Machine, I tracked RaceTrack because what was happening, I was doing Pilot Flying J just because that's the way it kind of evolved. I was looking for EVgo stations for our new Cadillac Lyric 2-year free plan, and those kind of popped into my purview, and then I started tracking, making videos, and before you knew it, the Network Architect channel started to increase the subscribers. They seemed to resonate with a certain subset of viewers, and I kind of kept going. It was something I was personally passionate about and seemed to have a community of people of like mind able to interact with on a social media platform, so it was fun for me as well. Then I started to see throughout the Southeast RaceTrac making press releases and building stations, specifically in Oxford, Alabama, halfway between Atlanta and Birmingham. They put in their first station, and it had a canopy. I mean, it was really looking very similar to the Pilot Flying J. And who RaceTrac is a very large company, which we'll get to in just a second. So I was gearing up for a similar type of Pilot Flying J build-out with just a ferocious amount of inertia behind them and dozens of stations, based on them going through their entire portfolio to some degree and adding EV charging. That's really what it was looking like when reading the press releases and looking at what was happening on the ground. And then it just kind of fizzled. Nothing happened. In fact, in the state of North Carolina, they were doing expansion, and I was watching some of their stations that were going in, and I was very disappointed to see that these brand new stations were not having any allocation for electric vehicle charging, even some kind of future-proof stall location, but no hardware getting installed or something. Nothing. New station after new station were getting put in, and there was no allotment for electric vehicle charging. So I figured, they had done a couple of stations, they put some feelers out, and they felt as though it wasn't right for them at this time. Now, I'm starting to see activity start to pick up, and let's kind of go over it real quick. First, who they are, just kind of putting this in context and why this might matter. $20 billion. That's why it matters. They're a huge corporation. Apparently, 18th largest privately held company in the United States. C-Store is a very profitable industry. And they operate, I think they're, what number are they on the C-Store? So they got 1,100 branded locations. We'll get to those in just a second. But $20 billion company is a significant presence in the overall United States business market. So that's why it matters. They're a very large corporation, privately held. Okay, so this is their website. Let's go to pizza, and then you'll see here, if you watch closely, EV charging. Here we are. And so on the front page of their website, they're advertising their EV charging, and they're saying select locations. This is the one in Oxford, Alabama, and that's what it looks like. Nice canopy. This is a single charger with 2 stalls underneath the canopy, and this is what their first station looked like. So now let's go to locations. If you go to their website, click Raceway 2 and filter by amenities, and if you look, they have, where is it? EV fast charging right here. You can select that and update results, and we now have locations appearing. You see there's a cluster in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. There's the one in Oxford, Alabama. There's an additional one in Atlanta, which I'll show in just a second. There's this one here north of Orlando, and then there's one near West Palm Beach as well, and this is the one that kind of made me think as though they're actually starting to proceed with their investments. If you want to see where they are, this is their store count separated by state. And you can see Florida is pretty significant. That's their largest market, followed by, let's see, what would be number 2? Georgia. That's where their headquarters is outside of Atlanta. It's in a very ritzy area of downtown Atlanta. And then otherwise spread around the southeast is primarily where they operate, but very heavy presence and very likable. I think it is comparable to Quick Trip up in the Wisconsin area is the way I would describe it, but it's down here in the southeast, so they're a regional player. And let's go over some of these stations that I'm starting to see show up. So let's see, this is Grapevine, Texas. This is one that there was a press release about, but it didn't seem to be happening. And now, look at that. That is a huge canopy. And not 2 stalls. We got 4 stalls being supplied by 2 Terra ABB Terra 184s, and you can see right here it says 180 kilowatts. Very nice, and this is, as I said, new construction. So now I'm starting to think, well, maybe those stations that I was seeing get built into North Carolina, South Carolina that I drove past and didn't have any allotment were prior to decisions for electric vehicle charging getting put in place, because this is a pretty good hunk of change in order to get a large canopy like that with all this built into a C-store property. So that looks pretty encouraging right there. Let's go to the one in Georgia. All right, so now we're starting to see a pattern. 4 stalls, canopy right next to the C-store. And same design. So obviously when they're building convenience stores, they're looking around, they're like, well, should we plop a electric vehicle charger in here? And they have certain decision criteria, which I'm assuming they use in order to elect whether they're putting one in there. And if you look right here, it's a NACS handle. So they're divvying up their ports. It looks like each ABB Terra 184 has 1 NACS, 1 CCS is what it looks like. Yep, sure enough, 1 CCS, 1 NACS. And then the one that, as I said, was the tipping point for me, I was just going around doing a plug share sweep, and I saw this, Raceway. They operate that brand as well in Lantana, Florida. Look at this. Beautiful looking station. In this particular case, they got one ABB Terra 184 servicing a accessible stall, and then one offering 2 stalls adjacent. But again, underneath a lit canopy on a C-store property, what's not to like? So I'm not to the point yet where I'm going to be fully tracking them, but I felt as though this was noteworthy enough, at least to call out, that it appears as though RaceTrac Corp is cautiously proceeding with their electric vehicle charging builds. So something to look forward to if you happen to be crossing paths with a RaceTrac and you notice construction occurring with something similar to all these stations that are going in there. And again, this is what this one looks like. If you see something like that, please put it into plugshare, and I'll probably pick it up on one of my sweeps. You're welcome to ping me as well. And if this starts to balloon into something as aggressive as the Pilot Flying J project, then we'll throw it into some kind of tracking system. Because I think this is very encouraging. Nothing's nicer than a C-store offering electric vehicle charging, not to a third-party CPO, but operating it themselves. There's a lot of advantages to that in my mind. Anyway, thanks for watching.